He did just give a good little speech at a conference on Republicans. I guess there was a group of Republicans speaking at a conference on anti-Semitism being carried by C-SPAN, and Ted actually did a really good job. And he particularly called out Tucker Carlson. And of course, Tucker's saying some of the weirdest and strangest things. You know, I don't know. Maybe our prayers are being answered. We asked for Tucker to repent about over a year ago, if not, God to judge him publicly. And now I kind of feel like he's a Nebuchadnezzar figure out in the yard eating grass. And maybe we get to watch this for the next 7 years. But we'll see. But I think he is being publicly judged. I really do. I think that's exactly what you're seeing is Tucker Carlson being publicly judged by God. And you're seeing his unhinged meltdown as, I think, proof of that. And I think you're going to see more of this mind rot going on across the board. And it's, again, interesting. The number of people that we can interview is getting smaller and smaller because this is a virus. It's a virus, and a lot of people have been infected with this anti-Semitic virus. And they want to blame Christian, dispensationalists, Jews for all the ills of the world. And I said the other day, why is it they can't say, look, we're not talking about all Jews, we're not talking about all dispensationalists, we're not talking about all Christian Zionists. There's a branch of them out there that's a little extreme. They want to build a third temple and get their sacrifices going right now. And there's some Christian Zionists helping them do that. Okay, fine. We had one at our conference. Byron Stinson, great speaker, very interesting. He believes the Lord has laid it on his heart to help do that. That's a controversial topic, no doubt about it. Some see it as being extreme. I'm not looking for the building of the third temple because I'm excited about it. I'm looking to where they are on that timeline because it gives us some indication, I think, of where we're at in Bible prophecy, because you have to have a temple to have these horrific abominations going on about midway through the 7-year tribulation. So it's just a marker, but we all get thrown into the same bag, the same box. And the brain rot is just spreading. Some of these people, I have to think, maybe somewhere along the way got fired by an individual that was Jewish or pro-Jewish, pro-Israel, Zionist, Christian Zionist. I don't know. Some of them just seem to be so angry. It's like, wait a minute, where is this root of bitterness coming from? Well, joining me to talk about some of these things and to respond to some of the latest clips by Tucker Carlson, and I want to play for you the latest clip by Ted Cruz that just came out, is Olivier Melnick. But before I get to that, we are getting word that another suspicious package is being reported outside Gracie Mansion just days after ISIS-linked bomb attempt. Now, do they really know it was an ISIS-linked bomb attempt? Apparently, the media is saying, oh, that was ISIS because an individual held up their index finger. There's a great article by Daniel Greenfield, another one of my Jewish friends. It's not ISIS, it's the Allah finger. Media mischaracterizes New York City bomber's gesture. Okay? Apparently, after he got arrested, he raised his right finger upwards in what the media incorrectly described as an ISIS salute. The New York Post called it a universal salute for ISIS, but there's no such thing as an ISIS salute. It's the traditional Islamic salute used during prayers to their deity, and much like Allah Akbar is used by Islamists proclaiming that they represent Allah and are combating infidels. Has anyone noticed the surge of articles and news reports the last 48, 72 hours about ISIS? And right on cue, as though the intelligence community and the mainstream corporate media, which didn't really seem to care, now all of a sudden is interested in talking about Iranian terror cells in America. Something we've been on now for how many years? Someone think this sounds a little too coordinated? I guess the pessimistic side of me says it smells like predictive programming and a script. So it's in the media. It's in the bloodstream of the culture. Hey, America, We're seeing a rise of Islamists and terror cells and ISIS players in the country, in the lower 48. Really? I thought we weren't allowed to talk about all those things. I thought that was all Islamophobia. But now, right on cue, here we go, just when we need to have a world war, because after all, as we say over and over, a world war checks all the boxes for Europe that's going belly up and broke, for America that's $39 trillion in debt, not to count the off-record debt. Our debt to GDP is just unsustainable. They've spent up all your Social Security money. It's not there. 150 million Americans won't be getting that one day soon. And they love depopulation and to get rich while they're at it with the military-industrial complex. So one has to wonder, what are they priming us for? What are they going to do, if anything, to get everyone in a nationalistic fervor to go off to another war? I don't know. Maybe nothing, I pray. But I just find it curious when the media all start parroting the same stories. Oh, it's an ISIS salute. No, it's not. Hey, we got to be worried about Iranian terror cells. Well, yes, but where were you years ago on this topic when the borders were open and we were screaming about it? That was called Islamophobia then, xenophobia, racism, white supremacy. Now on cue, they're all in the same song sheet. Interesting. Joining me now is Olivier Melnick, shalominmessiah.com. Hello, Olivier.
Hey, Brennan. Thanks for having me on the show. And where do we go from here?
I know. Where does one go? Well, let's start out with, we're going to pray this is nothing, but we're getting reports right now of a shooting in front of a synagogue in Baltimore. We have no details. Shooter near Maryland synagogue. Active shooter opens fire at synagogue near Baltimore. So we'll see what this is all about. Maybe it has nothing to do with the synagogue. Maybe that's something that's just in the area. You never can be sure with the media because they love to take things and run with it. And then we find out later it had nothing to do with that synagogue. So right now we don't know, but we're going to wait and watch this story develop. And if we get more information before the show's over, we'll go there. But that's the latest right there we've got.
May I interject something here?
Yes.
Because I was on the show yesterday and I shared that, and I want to share that on your show. I think I might have touched on it in the past, but at Shalom and Messiah, on our website, shalominmessiah.com, we started this program that is an encouragement for pastors. And what it is, it's called No Synagogue Left Behind. And it is asking pastors, and it's really for America, not global, because of the Second Amendment. It's asking pastors, hey, identify the rabbi of the synagogue in your area, call them and tell them, we have a security team on Sunday that takes care of our church and our congregation. They're professionals, they're retired police officers, armed forces, and they take care of us. They take care of the security, but they're not busy on Friday night and Saturday for the Shabbat service that you hold in your synagogue. So can you meet with me to have coffee? Let me introduce you to my team. We want to offer this service free to you. We want to protect the Jewish community. And Brandon, I've done a pilot on the West Coast and a pilot on the East Coast. It works. Not every rabbi is going to say sure, but many rabbis are going like, we need the help. There's even a congregation on a synagogue on the East Coast that recently was offered that. They accepted it. They called again the church. The pastor is a friend of mine, and they said, we would like you to come for the high holidays and give us security, which they did. And then eventually, a few weeks later, the rabbi and a few people of his congregation came to visit the church just to meet the people that cared so much about the Jewish people. So it's rebuilding bridges and it's providing security. It's called No Synagogue Left Behind. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to pay anything. It's just an idea that I came up with about a little over a year ago. And I'm asking pastors, grab the phone, call the rabbi, introduce yourself, offer that service. Let's rebuild the bridge and let's provide safety for the Jewish community. This is the time now. You're going to see more synagogues being attacked.
Yeah, you are. And the goal is not ecumenicalism. The goal is not some kind of interfaith dialogue. The goal is what? Olivier?
The goal is simply to show our Jewish people that they are still Bible believing Christians, believers like you, like me, who are interested in taking the Bible at face value, literally. And in the Bible, it says so much about God caring for the chosen people, the apple of his eye, having a plan for Israel, not replacing Israel. And if God loves Israel and the Jews so much, and if I claim that I love God, then I have no choice but to love the people he loves. So I'm going to go out of my way as a Christian to bless Israel. Of course, I want the Jewish community to know that I do it because of what Yeshua, Jesus, has done for me 43 years ago almost. And I want them to have that. He's the Jewish Messiah. But this is not an evangelism campaign. This is not a passing of tracts. This is not a preaching. And this is not a sermon. This is a reaching out, offering a helping hand in the process, making our Jewish friends jealous and letting them know we do it because of the Bible teaching us to do it, because Jesus tells us that's what we're supposed to do.
Making them jealous. Romans chapter 11. Over at your website, shalomandmessiah.com, you have an article today entitled, What in the World is Collateral Anti-Semitism? Now, that's a very intriguing title, but listening friends by radio, let me just tell you, what really caught my attention is the picture, the graphic. You know, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And the graphic on this article is a yellow star like we were used to seeing during the Third Reich. And it says Jude, or Jew. That's in one hand. In the other hand is a cross. It's a patch, a cross, with the words Christian Zionist written on them. Now, isn't that a powerful image? Because as we've been talking about for so many years, those of us that are Christian Zionists, we believe in the biblical and historical right of the Jewish people, we are being thrown into the same bucket, the same bag, the same box. And we see this persecution coming. And many of us are losing friends. People don't want, to present us as we are. And we're finding out that people that we used to interview have gone off the reservation in a way that's very, very, again, seems unhinged. I want to come back and talk about that. The putting a patch, putting a label on the Jew and the Christian Zionist and where that's going in America and around the world, and more on Tucker Carlson when we come back.
News is moving faster than ever, and so are we. Worldview Tube brings you 24/7 live stream coverage and now real-time alerts when it matters most. Once you have the Worldview Tube app installed, exit the app and navigate your way to Settings. In Settings, locate the tab labeled Notifications. Select the Notifications tab. Scroll down until you locate the Worldview Tube app icon. Select the tab, and here you can turn on and customize your notification experience for the Worldview Tube app. News doesn't wait, and neither should you. Turn on push notifications to stay informed. Every headline as it happens.
You're watching Worldview Tube, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts of Brannon House.
All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Hey, if you don't have our app for iPhone or Android, I would encourage you to get it. It's absolutely free of charge. You can go to worldviewtube.com/APPS apps, worldviewtube.com/APPS. When you get the app, whether for iPhone or Android, go ahead when you download it and choose notifications. What happens is when we go live with breaking news, as is becoming the routine now, particularly on the weekends outside our normal broadcast schedule of Monday through Friday, you will get a push notification saying there's breaking news, Brandon's going live, or someone on his team's going live. He's put together a panel. And of course, we've been doing that quite a bit lately. And some are like, wait a minute, we didn't realize you went live. We missed it all. Well, you can catch it on the replay. Well, I know, but I wanted to see it live. Well, then you need to get the app. And if you do get the app for Android or iPhone, again, worldviewtube.com/APPS, choose notifications. Turn those on. And if you already have the app, go back into the app, turn notifications on, and you'll get a push notification. I guess 700 people just over one weekend grabbed that app and did that. So we're trying to get it to about 10,000 people that are on that notification, because then you guys can tell your friends, and they told one friend and they tell one friend, and it sounds like a shampoo commercial from the 70s, I know. But then we get a lot of people that are aware of what's going on with breaking news, whether here in America, Israel, or around the world. Joining me now is, again, Olivier Melnick, shalominmessiah.com. This powerful graphic you have under your new article, What in the World is Collateral Anti-Semitism? The yellow star patch says Jude, like we saw during the Third Reich, and then a patch of a cross, and it says on it, Christian Zionist. I mean, we really are now becoming a small little group on a global scale. When you think of the rise of anti-Semitism, the folks that are into replacement theology or are just anti-Semites, the rise of Islam, and we could go on and on. We're really now talking about a pretty small percentage of people here when you add in the Christian Zionists and the Jews. It is a very small percentage of America. Even the Christian Zionist is a small percentage, increasingly small percentage in the evangelical world. That was not the case in the 70s and 80s, right? Now it's increasingly shrinking.
That was not the case 15 years ago. And how do I know that? I know that firsthand because prior to starting Shalom and Messiah, I was with Chosen People Ministries for 27 years. And they used to call, our staff used to call all the time churches all over the U.S. to book us missionaries back then to speak in churches. And it's, they'll come to your church and speak on Israel, the feast, Messianic prophecies, the Middle East. And they would have to call maybe 10 churches to get one booking. And as of maybe 5 years ago, they'd have to call over 100 churches to get one booking. People in churches and evangelicals, they say like, no, we're not interested. What about the Palestinians? What about the Muslims? We're not interested in Jewish things. This is not where we want to go. And so the interest within evangelicalism is dwindling down. Like you just said, we are few and far in between the Christians who are actually standing for truth, standing for Israel, and standing for on the right side of God, basically. It's a dwindling number. And that illustration was the best way I could come up with to really show, the reality now that you do not have, and that is something that I've been kind of working with in my own head as I'm writing articles and doing conferences on a weekly basis. You do not have, pay attention now, you do not have to be Jewish anymore to suffer from anti-Semitism. That is just, to me, an incredible new development. 26 years ago, when I started with my definition of anti-Semitism, it simply said anti-Semitism is a hatred of the Jews, characterized by thoughts, words, and deeds against them. Then I had to add the word Jews and Israel. And then I realized it's not just that, it's also very irrational. So then I had to add irrational hatred of Jews and Israel. Then I had to add irrational and satanic hatred of Jews in Israel. And then last week, Brandon, I realized it's time again to refine the definition. 26 years of work here. I now say anti-Semitism is the irrational and satanic hatred of the Jews, Israel, and their supporters, characterized by thoughts, words, and deeds. Now, the supporters of Israel, you wear a T-shirt that says, Christian Zionist, or a Star of David around a necklace, or even a Star of David inside a cross, whatever shows any connection with anything Jewish, you are at risk. You're putting a target on your back. And I'm not saying this to scare Christians. Christians, I'm talking to you now. This is the reality. We are now at a place where we have to make decisions. And I keep telling people, the few Christians who are remnant Christians, the people like you and I, Brandon, we are at a place when we need to really decide if we're going to have skin in the game or if we're going to become another generation of bystanders. God forbid.
If it's this bad right now, Olivier, wait until the tribulation, right?
Yes, well, I'm not going to have to wait until the tribulation because I'm pre-trib, pre-mill.
Right.
So I will be raptured as a believer. I believe from Scripture it shows that the tribulation is the time of Jacob's trouble. We get that from Jeremiah, and the time of Jacob's trouble, and it means that it's God's time to resume His program on Israel and the Jewish people. It's going to include Gentiles, obviously, from other passages, but it's the resumption of God's program with Israel and God's final chastising of Israel to bring the remnant of Israel to a saving knowledge of Messiah at the end of the tribulation. So that's why it's so important to get Jewish people and all people to believe and to follow Yeshua, Jesus, now before the rapture. We don't want them to go through tribulation because there's one more in my list of different anti-Semitism since the biblical record. There's one more anti-Semitism. Right now we are in what I call end times anti-Semitism, but after the tribulation, after the rapture, rather, there's one more kind of anti-Semitism, and the one is going to be through the roof, and it's tribulation anti-Semitism.
And I agree with all of that. I'm just simply saying, if it's this bad now, can you imagine what it will be like during the tribulation for both Jews and righteous Gentiles? It will obviously, there will be a price to be paid for the righteous Gentiles that are ministering to the Jews that are specifically the target of Antichrist. Revelation chapter 12 describes this.
Amen.
And Jesus in the Matthew 25 passage, when he's judging the Gentile nations at the end of that tribulation, sets the sheep on one side and the goats, the false converts, the pretenders on the other side. Of course, there's the ones that say, but did we do this your name and cast out demons? And he says, depart from me, I never knew you, you workers of iniquity, you workers of lawlessness. But it shows that actually ministering to the Jews is going to be something that is difficult because there's a very small group of people that were actually ministering to the Jews because it came with a price to align yourself and minister with those Jewish believers. And I want to stress that because it's the Jewish believers, not that we shouldn't be reaching out to the non-believing Jew, because that's how you became a Messianic Jew. And not that there won't be Gentiles during the tribulation that become believers that aren't trying to evangelize the Jewish people, not to mention the 144,000 Jewish evangelists that are trying to evangelize their own people, not to mention the 2 prophets that I think are going to be trying to evangelize the Jewish people. But the Gentile that is in any way trying to help the Jews, that's going to come with a price. Because otherwise, why would it be so few that help them? Because the Gentile is going to be persecuted for in any way helping them, supporting them.
That's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing right now.
Yes.
That's why we came up with the term collateral anti-Semitism, because it's not anti-Semitism because of race or because of belief or because of religion. It's simply anti-Semitism because of support of the Jewish people and support of Israel. And but that should not stop Christians from doing the right thing. That should just encourage them that we are seeing Scripture being fulfilled. We are seeing the fulfillment of Zechariah 12:3 when it says that the whole world is going to go against the Jewish people. And the fulfillment of Zechariah 12:3 is necessary for the fulfillment of Zechariah 12:9. God will go after all those who go after Jerusalem. So it's a sequence of events that, unfortunately, before it gets better, it's going to get worse. But that should encourage Christians before the rapture to do whatever they can to reach out to their Jewish friends. And I was thinking during the break about what happened in Baltimore. I was looking online to see if that that synagogue. We don't have a whole lot of details right now, except that it's an Orthodox Jewish synagogue, and it's interesting because. Tucker Carlson just posted a few days ago another one of his programs when he promotes the idea that it's the Chabad Lubavitch, which is a sect of Orthodox Judaism that is very outgoing, outreach-oriented, community-centered, and they're global. They're all over the world. They have emissaries, as they call them, husband and wife and kids. They have a center or a house, and then they do a synagogue, and they give a dance class and Hebrew classes and all kinds of cultural classes. It's more than a synagogue. It's called a Chabad Center, and the Chabad movement is absolutely not interested in. They're not warmongers. They're not going for. They're not belligerent. They're very loving to the Jewish community. And so Tucker is saying the Chabad movement started the war in Iran because they're interested in one thing: is the destruction of the Al-Aqsa Temple Mount, the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and the rebuilding of the Third Temple. And as Tucker always does, he'll throw in a little bit of biblical truth in a big balagan, a big mess of lies, and people will be so confused that they will just grab onto the little bit of truth and think the rest is also truth. So the Third Temple is a real thing. It's called the Third Temple, and there's a Temple Institute in the Old City in Jerusalem that's ready, prepared for everything except for the ashes of the red heifer. And we're still working on that, and we're getting closer and closer. And so that's a real thing. But that's the temple we know as the Tribulation Temple. And you've mentioned that, Tucker, Brannon. Oh, I just called you Tucker. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I've been called worse, but I'm not sure I have.
No, I'm not sure you have. And so that Third Temple is a real thing, but the Chabad movement is the opposite of what Tucker is painting them to be. And again, it's not surprising. He is right now. He is doing everything he can. He's looking for every possible way to demonize the Jewish people and to turn the few of us, like you and I, that's not going to work for you and I, obviously, but the few of us who are still loving and supporting Israel because of what we read in the Bible and what we take seriously, to turn the few of us against Israel so that Israel will have no friends left.
Here he is. Here's what Tucker said.
So it's a big deal to have a religious war. In some ways, this may turn out to be a religious war. In others, it's just inherently a religious war. So you should know. And at the center of that conflict is this thing called the Third Temple, which does not yet exist, but some people would like to rebuild. So we did a whole show on this. Seemed important and true. And in the course of that show, we described patches that some soldiers in the Israeli military, the IDF, are wearing that show an image of a temple, the Third Temple. And we asked, where did these come from? And it seems like from accounts that we read from those soldiers online that they got these patches somehow from a group called Chabad. In the United States, it's a global group, but it's headquartered here in New York and Brooklyn. And we said, you can check the tape, it was like, Chabad, they seem like really nice people. Met a bunch of people in Chabad over the...
Hold on, we'll be right back with more. We'll play the rest of the clip. Don't go away.
Consumers often ask, what should I expect when I take the Bella Grace elixir? And the answer's varied. It really depends on what your health and wellness needs are. I would consider this as your foundational core product for a whole range of health and wellness issues. Let me give you a few examples. If you're a little bit older and you have some joint health issues, some problems with mobility and discomfort, the elixir is going to be your best friend. If you have some skin health issues, wrinkles, hydration, aging, all of those elements are going to be benefited from the elixir, including age spots. Now, if you're in a younger demographic, maybe visual health is where you need some assistance. Eye fatigue, dry eyes, all of those are going to be benefited by the elixir. It's a core product because it benefits so many.
But apparently these patches came from Chabad, and Chabad, check their website, is in favor of rebuilding the Third Temple. Said, I will issue a statement disavowing violence against innocents in tandem with Chabad's statement disavowing violence against innocents. Knowing, of course, Chabad does not disavow violence against innocents, of course, Gaza, and they can't because they don't believe that. I think, I would be surprised if Chabad issued a statement disavowing all violence against all innocents. And of course, if they do, I will, join them for dinner to celebrate, because and I will praise them for doing that. And anyone who does that will get praise from me, heartfelt, but I doubt they're going to do that.
Says the guy, I think Hamas is just a political organization.
Yeah. Lies.
Tucker. There
lies.
Mm-hmm.
Lies. It's lies. I mean, the patch, I've seen the patch. I've seen the patch on IDF soldiers in one of my several trips I've made since the war. The service trips that we take to Israel to bring stuff to the IDF. So I know exactly which patch they're talking about. That patch, and there might be other sources, but the main source for that patch is an organization called High on the Har. Har, H-A-R, is the Hebrew word, I believe, for the hill, the mount, which is a reference to, of course, the Temple Mount. And that patch is basically that organization is promoting the rebuilding of the Third Temple, which is, part of religious Judaism. People in religious Judaism, which is about 15% of the Jews of the world, are interested in the rebuilding of the temple. The rest of the 85%, it's not that they're not interested, it's that they don't really know, or they're not educated on that. That's not in their on their radar as Jews. But that group is promoting the rebuilding of the Third Temple. So is the Temple Institute, but they're, to the best of my knowledge, they're not connected to Chabad at all. It's a group that promotes that little patch. And so when he says it comes from Chabad, I don't know where he did his research, except, I keep thinking that Tucker has access to a lot of money and a big staff. And when he wants to do research, he can really do research. I have a very small staff. There's just a few of us. When we do research, we can still access a lot of things. It might take us longer, but we have access to things if we really want to do ethical, historical, factual research. At this point, I give him the benefit of the doubt early on, a couple of years ago. No longer. He is not only interested in demonizing and delegitimizing, and he's going to use any lie that he possibly can. And the fact that people are still looking at him and believing him is puzzling to me. I have an article that's going to come out maybe in a day or two, talking about the fact that I'm hoping that as we're seeing people starting to slowly distance themselves from Tucker, I'm hoping that he is, as I call it, running on the fumes of his previous conservative reputation. Because he's no longer a conservative. He's a nutcase, really. That's what he is.
Yes, he is a nutcase.
I'm sorry. And it pains me to say nutcase because it sounds right, but nutcase means like insane person. And you heard me many times say it, and it's important. Insanity exonerates responsibility. Tucker is responsible for the crap that he's promoting online, and he's going to have to respond to God.
I don't think we can say that word.
And he's going to be responsible. He's going to have to answer to God for all the lies he's promoting online against Israel and against the Jews. So he's not insane. He's evil at this point.
Well, I think your headline of your article, Tucker running on the fumes of his conservative reputation and the occult. And by the way, do we have the clip? Can we find the clip where he said that the group he hates the most are the Christian Zionists? Just to remind the audience, he actually said that, which kind of goes with the graphic of your article, the yellow patch of the Jude, and then the one of the Christian Zionists. And he says, that's the group I hate the most. Interesting, your article that's coming out in a few days. You sent me a preview. Tucker running on the fumes of his conservative reputation and the occult. Now, that's very interesting you say that. Because
you know why I say that? We spoke offline about somebody. You're gonna mention him probably?
Who?
No, I said we spoke offline about somebody that.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. Yeah. Before you did that headline, though, did you know that Tucker has basically validated his belief in the occult? Did you know that?
I might have heard something about that, Brennan, but give us a little bit.
Well, here
about
it is. Here he's talking to Megyn Kelly. Now, friends, listening friends and viewing friends, tell me if I'm wrong here. But it seems like, pay attention, that Tucker Carlson is actually stating he believes in the power of the mind and the words to create reality. That's called shamanism. That's called white magic, occultism. It can also be black magic. White magic, when you wrap it with Christian phrases, and that becomes the word of faith or positive confession. So tell me when you hear this clip, if you don't think he's actually saying, no, I believe that's actually out there, but yet this is what Mark Levin's practicing. He's accusing a Jewish man, Mark Levin, of practicing really occultism or witchcraft. Now, again, listen to Tucker as he describes it, because he doesn't say it's not a reality. He actually teaches and says, this is what it does. This is what it can do. So he himself obviously must believe that it's real. Listen.
And what people like Levin, whom I'm not attacking, I feel sorry for because he's clearly living in hell, but what they're trying to do is a species of witchcraft. And it's really simple. You repeat something until it becomes true. You speak, you create truth by speaking. In the beginning was the word, right? There's a holy power, there's a supernatural power in words.
Okay, he's saying that. He's using the Bible out of context to say he believes that this is a reality. Now, I don't know if he thinks, well, it can be used for good or it can be used for evil, but he's telling you, and if he's using twisted scripture, which we know was in the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, right? So he is telling us, I believe, he himself believes in some form of occultism. Listen, more.
Describing things is different from simply doing them. And if you can talk reality into being, this is what an incantation is. That's what a spell is. It's not like spooky, like crazy stuff. It's the lived reality of every person. Say it and it becomes true. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. Shills like Pompeo.
Wow. So it's a living reality for everybody. Well, no, I'm sorry, Tucker. I do not believe in shamanism, word of faith, positive confession, the law of attraction, name it and claim it, whatever you call it. But he does. And the more that he talks, the more I think he's got demonic problems, in my theological opinion. The guy that told us he was attacked by a demon, I guess, at night, left claw prints. Now he's telling us he believes in the shamanism, the power of your words to create reality. But now he's, I guess, saying that it's being used for the bad side by Levin and Pompeo and others.
Yeah, and I, it's the first time I see this clip, and not to disagree with you on the air, but we're friends, and you know me, I like to give and take. My first listening, it looks to me like he's accusing people, including Mark Levin, of doing that, but he's not. I don't think. But I don't think he's including himself. I think he's excluding himself.
But he said he believes it's a reality for all people.
Yeah, well, but I've said in some of my articles that everybody is doing this. It doesn't mean I agree with it. So I see where you're going with that, and what I'm saying, and I don't disagree that he's using the occult, because I get it from another source that maybe we can discuss now. But it's that quote was not clear to me, and maybe I need to rewatch it because
let me play it again. Here we go.
A holy power, there's a supernatural power in words. Describing things is different from simply doing them. And if you can talk reality into being, this is what an incantation is. It's what a spell is. It's not like spooky, like crazy stuff. It's the lived reality of every person.
It's the lived reality of every person. You can do this. And he uses Bible to say it. In the beginning was the Word. I think he truly believes it. He's not saying this is what they believe. It's a lived reality for every person.
Yeah, he says this is what incantation is, this is what a spell is, and so he's using that terminology that we use to describe the things of the occult that are negative, that are satanic, and he's making it like within reach for everybody. Everybody's using it. I get that. It's a little more clear. Maybe if I listen to it two or three times.
The fact that he wants to use scripture. The fact he wants to use scripture. I mean, here, let's go.
Simple. You repeat something until it becomes true. You speak,
you create truth by speaking. In the beginning was the word, right? There's a holy power, there's a supernatural power in words. Describing things is different from simply doing them. And if you can talk reality into being.
Well, he doesn't sound like a guy that doesn't believe that. He sounds like a guy who believes it.
No. You're right. You're right. I mean, see, you put me on the spot. You throw a clip at me, and I'm responding. I hate
well, the
you
thing to know about
Christian-
Olivier is Olivier is a very tender-hearted guy, and he always wants to give people the benefit of the doubt. That's one of the things I've learned about you.
That is correct, but Brandon, I'm done with Tucker. Okay, don't worry about it. I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt. It's between him and God, and he can still be saved. He can still benefit from eternity in God's presence.
I'm not so sure that's the case. I think his conscience has been seared as with a hot iron. I don't know that, but you can reach a point when your conscience is seared and you are toast.
Well, you can reach the point, but God can always bring someone to Him, and that person can always repent. There's always hope for him, but as far as giving him the benefit of the doubt, like I did maybe a couple of years ago when that started to really go south, we're past that. I mean,
so
clearly,
you had not even heard that clip where I believe, and I've played it now to try to reiterate why I believe he's not disavowing this. He's saying it's a known reality. And he tries to use the Bible. It's a known reality for everybody. Okay, so he clearly believes there is a way you can do these things in a good way or a bad way, which to me, again, says he does believe in some aspects of the occult world, whether he knows that or not. And of course, a lot of the people that are into the word of faith, positive confession, they don't think they're practicing occultism, but they are. So he probably doesn't even know what he's doing. But interesting, you hadn't even heard that clip, and yet your new article coming out in a few days says Tucker running on the fumes of his conservative reputation and the occult. Why did you title it that? And who is it you think is kind of mentoring him here?
I've done, and again, my research is not extensive on that man, but I've done some research and made some connection between Tucker and the teachings of Alexander Dugin, a Russian philosopher and who definitely teaches the occult and mysticism. He's also known in some circles as Putin's Rasputin or Putin's brain. That says a lot. And that man is definitely dabbling in the occult in strong ways and pushing an agenda that both Tucker and Candace Owens are actually have adopted. And I mean, I've got some quotes from him on some videos that I watch when he basically says that Zionism is Satanism. So basically he's saying that the Jews are demon-possessed. Did we hear that from anybody? Of course we heard that from Candace Owens. Demon-possessed pedophiles. That's what she calls us. So I don't think Candace and Tucker are smart enough to come up with those words. They basically got the...
Hold right there. The computer's going to take it. We'll come right back with Olivier Melnick.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Don't forget Crosstalk coming up with Jim Schneider at the top of the hour, vcy.org, vcy.org. Here's Tucker saying that there's that one group I really hate, the Christian Zionists. Here it is, just for folks who think we're making this up. No, we're not.
Well, Christian Zionists, like, what is that?
What is that?
I can just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody. Because like what?
Wow, he dislikes us more than anybody. Finish what you were saying before the break there, and then I have another question for you.
What was I saying?
You were talking about Candace and Tucker are not smart enough to come up with this. They had to learn it from somewhere.
Yeah, Candace Owens and Tucker. Basically, when you look at the teaching of Alexander Dugin, they get all of their cues from this guy who's a really blatant anti-Semite. But what I find interesting also is that for some reason, I just found out recently that he, unless I'm mistaken, and you might correct me or confirm that, Brandon, Alexander Dugin endorsed Donald Trump. And I just find it very, not that it means anything to us, but I find it very troubling. It's sending a lot of mixed messages in the conservative movement right now, and it's making conservative Christians very confused. And I think we're heading for a very interesting split in the MAGA movement.
Oh, yeah.
That's for another day.
No, it's actually not, because Republicans are now speaking today at a conference on anti-Semitism being covered by C-SPAN. And I want to play a quick clip of Ted Cruz, but I saw, he's taking on Tucker Carlson. I saw where it's out there on social media that people are saying, well, the real brain behind Donald Trump for this Middle East is Jared, his Jewish son-in-law. That's the real brain behind this operation. Now, Paul Harvey back in the 60s had a commentary that I think I put in my book back in the early 90s called If I Were the Devil. And he lists all the things that he would do if he were the devil. And of course, they've all happened. Well, if I were the devil, I would take this opportunity to use a president with a Jewish son-in-law, and I would get working with Israel to get a war going and to spike the oil prices, to crush the economy further, and to make it really hard on the people of America and Europe and other parts of the world. And then I would, if I were Satan, see that the satanic pawns and proxies, i.e. Hezbollah and Hamas and the rest of these guys that really worship Satan but call Allah, were involved in these terror cells they're now being warned about. And I would bring terrorism to further and more aggressively to Europe and America, other parts of the world, particularly Europe and America. And I would cause such a literal hell on earth, if you will, to break out, and then say, who is the source of all the suffering and oppression we're going through? It's the Jews. Donald Trump and his Jewish handlers, including his son-in-law, are the ones that brought this on us. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but if you're watching this script and you know what the Bible says is coming, and you keep trying to decide for yourself, why is it that so many people who don't know anything about Jews or the Torah or anything else all of a sudden want to hate on people they don't even know or know very little about? And there has to be something where it's over the kitchen table, right? It's like James Carville said during the Bill Clinton, George H. campaign for the White House. It's the economy, stupid. Do stuff to them that is kitchen table things, but even more than that. As David Gobbets warned us last night, who's penetrated and gone undercover at over 425 mosques in America, he said many of them, when he was undercover, said the next thing they will do will involve what is near and dear to the hearts of Americans. And what is that? Their children and their grandchildren, which is why since 2008, if you go back into my vault at worldviewtube.com/vault and you type in the perfect day, you will see we've been warning about them hitting our schools in America as they did in Beslan in Russia. So if you have this kind of thing happen now, they're going to say, you see, they got us into a war. This is the backlash, and blame it on the Jews because Trump was being led around by the nose by Netanyahu and his Jewish son-in-law. That's what the narrative is already. Allow these bad things to happen, and can you imagine the boomerang onto the Christians and the Zionists and the Jews?
Brennan, this scenario is... 10 years ago, I would have said, Brennan, come on, man, chill. Today, it is definitely, I don't see anything wrong in what you just laid out as in that scenario. It could very well happen. It's all in place, like everything that's, the economy, the safety of people, the price of things, all those things. It's all going to be the fault of Israel and the Jews, and by proxy America, because we came to the rescue. We helped Israel, and of course, some will even say that Israel pulled us into that war, and which is a lie. It's the war against Iran it involves us and Israel, but it's definitely not just about Israel. It's about it's an existential crisis.
Which shows you this is a spiritual battle, because it seems as though the chessboard is being set up. I got to go to one quick little clip before I run out of time of Senator Cruz today. Listen.
On the right, I have seen more anti-Semitism in the last 18 months on the right than at any point in my lifetime. A year and a half ago, I could not have imagined we would be here having this conversation. And it is growing, and it is gaining real purchase, especially with young people. I agree, Norm, that we're winning with folks in this room with some gray or salt and pepper in their hair. But in a college classroom, I'm a lot less certain. And it is being spread by loud voices, the most consequential of whom is Tucker Carlson.
And then he goes on to say how he is going to be taking him straight on. If you want to be popular today, the young people in the control room have said the way to grow a big audience is come out against the Jews. And that's sad, but that's how you build a big audience today. Olivier, closing comment?
No, I just, again, I want to encourage the people, your audience, watching this program and all the other things that you do. I just want to encourage them to keep their eyes on the prize. Jesus is coming back. He's going to come get his church.
Amen. ShalomandMessiah.com. Take care. And that's our broadcast. We're back on WROS and you here on Worldview Tube. Sorry, the computer takes it away from me, Olivier. I do want to promote your website one more time, though. ShalomandMessiah.com. I can let you go, or you can listen to the last little clip from Ted Cruz. You want to hear the final part he said?
I got to run.
Go. All right. That's it. He's gone. He's gone. Here's Senator Cruz. I kept him longer than I was supposed to anyway. Here's the rest of what Ted Cruz had to say. He's fired up.
I believe Tucker Carlson is the single most dangerous demagogue in this country. And I'll tell you, I've made the decision that I'm going to take him on head directly. If you look at the dissent of Tucker Carlson, and they're all the sort of lesser chattering voices that are moons circling his twisted planet. But if you look at the dissent, it started about a year and a half ago with platforming crackpot professors seeking to rewrite history. Seeking to rewrite history about World War II. So he has one idiot whom he describes as the most consequential popular historian in the country, who leans forward and intones that Winston Churchill was the villain of World War II.
So that's Ted Cruz on Tucker. I want to advance it just a little bit here. Let's get the end of these comments because he goes on to say some other things. We'll skip that for the sake of time. Here we go.
But it's not just there. It then descends. Look, Nick Fuentes. It's actually interesting if you look at Republican politicians. Nick Fuentes is easy to denounce. And I actually think it's a tell among a Republican politician if they'll denounce Fuentes but are scared to say Tucker's name. That tells you a great deal. Nick Fuentes is a goose-stepping Nazi. And by the way, I'm not one who throws around the term Nazi loosely. But when Nick Fuentes says Hitler was very, very cool. I like Hitler and I agree with Hitler. Like, when you say you agree with Hitler, you are a Nazi. Tucker has Fuentes on his show. Doesn't question him about any of the ridiculous things he said. Doesn't react at all when Fuentes tells him his mission is to combat global Jewry. And Tucker nods, interesting. Fuentes tells him every year he celebrates Stalin's birthday. By the way, what kind of freak even knows Stalin's birthday? I don't know it, and I don't care to know it. But Tucker just coos when he says that.
We are in some very interesting times, folks, no doubt about it. And I don't care about being popular. Absolutely don't care. I think I mentioned that to you guys yesterday. And maybe that just comes with age. Maybe that comes with, having accomplished far more than I ever thought by God's grace. I never thought, never in a million years, thought I would find myself where I am today, having the opportunities that I've had to do the things I've done. And so it's like, you kind of get to a point where it's like, I'm pretty satisfied with how my life has turned out professionally and personally. And I didn't get here by kissing people's rings. I didn't get here, frankly, by soft pedaling it. Back to the contrary, I've kind of built this audience by being a guy that said things long before a lot of people said them, and things that were thought to be a little crazy, but turned out to be actually true. When it comes to Marxism, communism, communitarianism, Fabian socialism, fascism, occultism, the Republican Party, we were calling that out years and years and years ago during the Tea Party time when Sean Hannity and Levin were screaming at the top of their lungs defending the Republican Party. Remember that? We were talking about 9/11 and why that seemed awfully suspicious before it became mainstream. We were telling you long time ago about MK Ultra. We were telling you that most of our politicians are captured with money or perversion. So I didn't get to build this audience by soft pedaling it for the sake of building numbers, because I don't want people following me that are cowards. I don't want people following me that can't handle the truth. I would rather have a small audience of faithful people that are warriors than a large audience of a bunch of cowards. And so I would simply say, my friends, keep speaking the truth. Get where you don't care. They don't care what they say about us, and they're speaking lies. Why do we care when we have the truth? May God save America. Take care.